Most people think the stock market is just a chaotic place full of numbers, charts, and sleepless traders. But its true origin is far more dramatic, accidental, and human than anyone imagines, because the story of the stock market begins long before skyscrapers, Wall Street, or glowing screens. It begins with fear, ambition, and the desperate need for humans to take risks without dying trying. To understand how this all started, imagine living in the 1400s when the world was far bigger, darker, and far more dangerous than today, and traveling across the ocean wasn't an adventure, it was practically a suicide mission. Because one storm, one pirate attack, one bad decision, and an entire voyage worth of investments would vanish forever. Back then, if you wanted to explore distant lands or trade spices from India or silk from China, you had to put every coin you owned into a single ship, and if that ship sank, and most of them did, your life, your fortune, and your dreams sank with it, which meant exploration and trade were luxuries only the bravest or the most foolish could afford. But humans aren't meant to stay small, and history changed when merchants and explorers began realizing that instead of one person risking everything alone, many people could risk a little together, which meant that instead of one man losing everything, dozens of investors could lose only a small share, spreading the danger across many shoulders, and unknowingly inventing the foundation of the modern stock market. This idea took shape around the 1600s in Europe, during the Great Age of Exploration, when nations and traders were desperate to reach Asia for spices, tea, gold, and silk, and the voyages required enormous ships, massive crews, weapons, supplies, and months of sailing into storms and unknown waters, something no single person could afford or survive alone. And then came a company that would rewrite the rules of the world. The Dutch East India Company, formed in 1602 in Amsterdam, which invited ordinary people, bakers, farmers, blacksmiths, to invest small amounts of money into huge voyages, promising that if the ship returned safely with goods, investors would share the profits, and if the ship sank, the losses would be shared too. People didn't realize it at the time, but this was the birth of something revolutionary, the first publicly traded company in human history. And to make this possible, the Dutch needed a system to record ownership, track investments, and allow people to buy or sell their share in the company. And so, the world's first stock exchange was born on a street in Amsterdam. Instead of risking everything on one voyage, thousands of people pooled their money together, turning the company into a giant economic machine. And suddenly wealth wasn't about owning land or gold. It was about owning shares, pieces of a company, pieces of a dream, pieces of the future, and this new idea spread across Europe like wildfire. The British followed with the British East India Company, and soon more companies emerged, some legitimate and some completely fake. Because when humans discover a way to make money from imagination, greed and hope always follow, and people would buy shares in anything, from shipping companies to impossible fantasies, without understanding the risks. By the 1700s, London became the center of finance, with traders shouting in coffee houses, exchanging papers, making deals, and creating fortunes overnight. And these chaotic rooms became the blueprint for the modern trading floor, full of rumors, excitement, and panic. But with great opportunity came great disaster, as greed inflated bubbles faster than anyone could control, and the most famous was the South Sea Bubble of 1720, when investors poured money into a company promising impossible profits. Share prices exploded, regular citizens bet their life savings, and within months, everything collapsed, wiping out fortunes, destroying reputations, and proving that stock markets can create dreams as easily as they destroy them. Despite the chaos, the idea of investing together became unstoppable, because humans had discovered something powerful: a way to fund massive projects, ships, railroads, factories, inventions, without needing kings or empires. And by the 1800s, the Industrial Revolution turned stock markets into global financial engines. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, a small group of brokers gathered under a buttonwood tree on Wall Street in 1792 and signed an agreement to trade stocks among themselves. And that moment became the foundation of the New York Stock Exchange, which centuries later would grow into the beating heart of global finance. As technology advanced, telegraphs replaced runners, phones replaced telegraphs, computers replaced phones, And today, most trades happen in milliseconds, not by shouting men on a crowded floor, but by algorithms moving billions of dollars faster than a human can blink. Yet despite all the technology, the stock market remains exactly what it was in the beginning. A group of humans taking risks together, sharing fear and hope, believing in companies, believing in stories, believing in the future. Because the stock market isn't just numbers or charts, it's a mirror of human emotion, driven by greed, panic, ambition, imagination, and trust. So the next time you open your trading app or hear the news talk about stocks rising and falling, remember this. The stock market was born from ships risking their lives at sea, from people pooling their hopes and fears together, from dreams bigger than any single person. And even today, centuries later, it is still powered by the very same thing that created it: belief.